Jesus, in speaking of false prophets, warned us to judge them by their fruits. He said, "Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns, or figs of thistles? Even so every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore by their fruits you shall know them." This is an extremely important caution for the day in which we live, as evil is coming over our earth in many forms, and God has warned us, saying, "There shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect." There is a tendency amongst Christians to judge every supernatural manifestation as being of God. We must be prayerful and discerning of whether or not to follow certain religious leaders. We must not make the mistake of believing numbers of people represent fruitfulness. A ministry is valid when we see the character of Jesus in the minister, the pure word of God preached, and maturity in the lives of those under him. Miraculous healings, prophetic words, or people falling down in the Spirit are not to be seen as fruit, because the devil can do all these things, and will do them, to get people to follow a deceiver. Deceivers will lead people straight into the acceptance of a one-world religion. We see an emphasis for this with media pressure to accept Islam as a viable religion on par with Christianity. Since the World Trade Center bombings, there have been numerous prayer and worship services where Christians, Muslims, and those of other faiths gathered, quote, "as one body," end quote. A relative of mine who believes all religions lead to God told me about the wonderful combined church services going on in her community, where Christians, Muslims, and Jews all gather together for monthly services. The messages are alternately delivered by a Christian minister, a rabbi, or an imam. She told me of one service that ran unusually long. The call for prayer sounded for the Muslims, who all immediately fell down on their prayer blankets, bowing toward Mecca. The Christians, desiring to show their unity and acceptance of the Muslims, bowed down to Mecca with them. I guess the Christians forgot about the 3 Hebrew youths in Daniel, who preferred being cast into a fiery furnace to bowing down to an idol. Christians need to speak out about the fact that Jesus Christ and Allah are not the same God, and Islam is not a religion of peace. Those who are not grounded in the Word of God are being misled. We must pray for discernment. If one learns anything in the Satanic Ritual Abuse ministry, it is that many things are not as they appear. You hear memory after memory about terrible atrocities and murders. Then you walk out into society and everyone seems so nice, and you wonder, how can this be? Then you hear more memories and see the devastated lives and the manifestation of demons, and you have to conclude, yes, this is really happening. Ministering to the satanically ritually abused and living in our society requires an adjustment in our thinking. We must learn to minister to the oppressed, set the captives free, and then leave it all behind and go on with our life. This takes maturity. We know that God desires for His people to have healthy bodies, and that sickness and disease come from the enemy. The more we are conformed to the image of Christ, the more strength and faith we have to resist any attack of the enemy on our body. However, Satan will sometimes, quote, "heal," end quote, someone in return for something he desires, such as their allegiance to him. There are books such as The Beautiful Side of Evil by Johanna Michelson that document satanic healings. One of the evil powers of satanically ritually abused persons may pertain to healing. One SRA woman told me about being summoned to her evil father's hospital bedside where he lay severely ill. When he reached out to her, she felt powers leave her body that seemed to strengthen him. That was the turning point in his illness, and he recovered. This happened many years before she began having memories of her abuse and being delivered from all the demons. She didn't even know she had powers. She didn't know that any evil person could be healed by that which had been put in her through rituals. I have heard many stories about strange healings that take place at satanic rituals, but all these have been related to me by persons who were severely traumatized at the ritual and vulnerable to trickery. It is not uncommon for someone ritually abused to believe their body was dismembered and then miraculously put back together again by the devil. This was probably done by the victim being traumatized, given drugs, and made to feel pain while being told a body part was cut off. Then a body part from some dead person was shown to her, and she believed it was hers. There does seem to be one supernatural type of healing that is commonly seen in the satanically ritually abused, and that is freedom from scars. Scars could validate their memories, and these kinds of scars seem to be conspicuously absent. However, their internal organs, when exposed through surgery, often show tremendous inner scarring and damage that cannot be explained by physicians who know nothing about this kind of abuse. Many people who have been satanically ritually abused suffer debilitating physical ailments as a result of their abuse. Some common illnesses seen in those so abused are migraine headaches, eating disorders such as anorexia, bulimia, obesity, and food addictions, sexual dysfunctions, fibromyalgia, digestive tract problems, including acid reflux, ulcers, and colitis, blood chemistry imbalance, pain in their joints, heart problems, substance abuse, TMJ, diseased reproductive organs, liver or adrenal malfunctions, thyroid disorder, arthritis or lupus, and many others. If you have found this video to be interesting and informative, I have many more videos and articles on satanic ritual abuse at my website www.hispresenceonline.org. There are also many articles and videos having to do with the end times and the deep Bible studies I've done in that area. Also, there's a podcast where you can hear me deliver a satanically ritually abused woman from an alternate part that was very hostile and had a lot of demons, and it was all done, I think, in about 18 minutes. You might find that interesting.